Hi guys, finally I've gotten something figured out with YouTube. I'm Shishi, as you guys know me from the aminos, and if you are new here or just stumbling across my channel, I appreciate you stopping in. So basically today I think, because I was gonna go live, but unfortunately for whatever reason it's just not allowing me to go live. So I figured what I would do is I would take you on a little bit of a tour of my fish room, which again, excuse the basement, surroundings, but some of you guys that do follow me on the aminos know that my fish room is actually in my basement, which is a work in progress. I do a lot of my work by myself, including like building my tanks, some of my filters, just as a, keeps the mind busy, I guess, and keeps me doing what I love, and it's more cost effective. So here we are basically in my fish room. Behind me is a 30-gallon. I'm gonna show you a better picture of that in a second. But like I said, I don't want anyone to be startled by the fact that there is a lot. It is a basement. It's very low down. I'm quite tall, so like I'm 5'9", so I don't like to stand up completely because I'm scared that I'm gonna get spiders in my hair. But anyway, I'm gonna explain to you what's going on in my fish room. And here are some of my 10-gallon tanks. This one here is set up for breeding. This is my crown tail. His name is Maurice. I'm not too sure how well you can see him. Let me try changing the camera view here. 1 second. Here we go. This is Maurice. He is a crown tail. He has marble gene. He actually used to be almost completely red with a little bit of black, like a couple of black spots on his sides. He's a very nice looking fish. And in the background, unfortunately, little Miss Sushi Fish, he has made her live up to her name. But this is how I set up my breeding tanks. I prefer to use the 10-gallon breeding tank just in case there's a decent sized spawn. The bubble wrap underneath here provides him with a favorable area to actually build a bubble nest under. Some people don't like it because it's kind of difficult to see, to see how well he has built anything underneath there. But there's a few tricks that if you haven't done so already, I'm sure you'll be familiar with them. And if not, you can also message me on the aminos, better spawns. I always use a piece of driftwood and Indian almond leaves in my tanks. Sushi is actually a veil tail, and I'm actually trying to achieve some half suns or comb tails from this, so I'm hoping that this will be successful. He's doing a lot of pursuing. She looks pretty ready, but I will update with progress. There are no eggs yet. There has been no mating between these two. However, it's definitely getting closer. There's definitely a lot more interest between the two of them, which is good. Obviously, anyone who has bred betas knows that there's a lot of love and war in these tanks. Unfortunately, it can be quite a hair-raising experience, especially when the male will take a chunk out of your female, and every instinct is to grab a net and pull the female out. But unfortunately, it's just part of the process. There's a perfect shot of Sushi being pursued again, checking out the nest and quickly swimming away. So, and they'll do this quite a lot. I'll turn the lights off again. in probably about an hour or so and see if that'll settle them down again. Now this is Wilbur's tank. Again, it's a 10-gallon setup, almost identical to Maurice and Sushi. And there is the lovely Wilbur. He does not have any eggs up there currently. Beatrix, who is down here, again, she looks terrible, but I assure you that's not from him. There was a possible velvet outbreak, which turned out not to be velvet at all, but she and Maurice kept escaping and beating each other up, and unfortunately she's the one that looks a lot worse than him. But if she does show, you know, if she shows any signs of major distress, or if Wilbur starts, you can actually see new growth on her. You might not be able to see it through the camera, but she actually has some new growth coming in her fins and in her tail, so that shows me that he's really not, Wilbur himself is not actually causing causing her any damage. Wilbur is a rosetail beta. He's very beautiful. He's also been the subject of my recent leaving the father with the fry method that I wanted to test and see how that played out, and I'll speak a bit more about that probably in a different video. And she is a half moon, just a, you know, half moon plaquette. She's she wasn't this color when I got her. She was more like, her fins were more of a lace, but as she has aged and, you know, during the breeding process, she has actually changed color quite a lot. She now has very, very pretty blue, almost like galaxy scales across her back, which have become more evident during the, you know, the attempts of breeding her with Wilbur. So these guys, I'm hoping any day soon. They have been showing some pretty good interest in each other, but he keeps getting a little bit too forceful and chasing her across the tank and getting her wedged behind the bubble, you know, the sponge filter in the back. But she's not hurt in any way, and she's not showing any signs of like major distress or anything like that. So I think she's pretty good. So fingers crossed that I'll have hopefully 2 batches of fry really soon. And then I'll bring you over to, this is my 30-gallon. This is the fry tank. And I'll try and get in a little closer so we can see some of the babies. Here they are. This is Wilbur and Caroline's batch. Unfortunately, the camera doesn't pick them up very well. But there's probably about, I'm gonna say, there's about 15 left in here. So the glare is actually really bad. I wonder if turning the light off will, nope, that makes it a lot worse. There is, oh, and we have a spider come to visit us also, which again, you're probably not, oh, can you see him? And this is one of the things that I absolutely hate about the basement, is these little guys like to come and visit me, and I do not like spiders. I can deal with just about anything but spiders. But these guys in here, some of them are very, very little still. They're about 5 weeks old now. They're a little smaller than I would have hoped they would be at this age, but they're not, you know, they're still growing, so I'm not concerned, other than the fact that they're a little bit smaller than I personally would like for 5-week-old fry, but everyone assures me that they look really, really healthy. Otherwise, this tank was actually just water changed yesterday, and you wouldn't believe the amount of poop that they can produce, as you can see, which is actually not helped by the pleco who is in here somewhere. I'm not sure where he is. He's underneath there. I don't know if you can see him. He is a Rio Niagara pleco. He will only get to about maybe 5 inches, 6 inches max. So that's why he or she is absolutely ideal for this tank. And completely peaceful. He came in, cleaned all of the algae off of this log, created a bunch of mess for me to clean up, which seems to be absolutely never ending. But obviously when you've got fry that are small like this, you've got to be careful about your water changes and making sure that the water changes are done in a fashion that's not going to stress out the fry too much, that the water, the differences in the temperatures of the water, the pH levels, everything is as close to what they already have. So I'll do like a really, really deep clean of their tank, probably once a week, where I go in and I remove everything, absolutely everything. But they get a good 20 to 30% water change pretty much every day, unless for some reason I'm extremely busy, in which case it will be every other day. I'm kind of hoping that our spider friend over here gets out of here because I don't like him too much. So that's the 30 gallon. And all of my tanks run off of sponge filters, with the exception of this, which for me is more of just to help keep a nice flow going through the tank, being that it is a 30 gallon. I do have the big sponge filter, which is perfectly good for up to probably a 40 gallon fish tank. But I like to make sure that there is some movement in there. And for me, I find that it works really nicely. I have the sock on the bottom to make sure that there's no fry gets sucked into there. And also it helps reduce some of the flow that comes out of there. And right now I have it pulled out of the water a little bit higher, just so that it doesn't, basically it's kind of running down on itself. I don't know if you can really pick that up, but the water kind of runs down on itself there, on the casing of the actual filter. So that helps stop there from being too much current in the water for the betas, but it does help them promote, and it does promote like really healthy fin growth, makes them nice and strong fish. I mean, if they've actually got to work in order to swim anywhere, then they're going to be a lot healthier in the long run. But obviously, if I feel like it's too much, then I will either remove it or I'll put additional sponges inside of the filter itself, just so that it reduces that flow to a more of a comfortable level for them. Because a fish like Wilbur, for instance, doesn't do well with they don't, with the big fancy fins like that, they don't do well with high flowing water, just purely for the fact that they are not good swimmers. They're basically produced in order to look good. In the wild, they do not have fins like this. That's something that we have over many, many years, almost engineered them to look like. But if they are raised in glass bottles, for instance, that for a long time, whilst their fins are forming, they actually can get like deformities in their fins, and their fins can curl, and they actually don't grow the muscles in their bodies to be able to contend with any kind of water flow. Because they haven't had to use them, because they've sat at the bottom of the little jars, for instance, and they haven't had to swim up to the surface. They just need to lift their heads in order to breathe with their with the labyrinth organ. So for me, this is how I like to have my tanks set up. This is what works for me. I know it's different for everybody, but so anyway, I'm gonna move on to this is the air pump that my tanks are currently running off of right now. It's got four outlets on the bottom of it, so And it's completely adjustable. Like I can turn the flow up and I can turn it down. I have it down on the lowest that it will possibly go, just purely for the fact that obviously I don't want to cause too much stress on my fish with, like, you know, major bubbles going. If it was different fish species that would need more of a current, more of a flow, then obviously then I would have that adjusted. Then, you know, basic little things such as some of my favorite pellets that I use, and actually I have my fry already eaten these. I crush them, hence the spoons. They get crushed up and I put them in probably every other day, and it's a good thing to help them, you know, forage and look for the little pieces of food here and there where they can. So that's another thing. And then here is my DIY brine shrimp hatchery. It's actually not at a point right now that I would use it to feed my fry. I just wanted to show you guys how I have it set up. You know, your basic airline tubing inside the bottle, and I make sure that goes all the way down to the lid. It's in here, and then that way that creates the flow that I need. And I use about two teaspoons of the aquarium salt, and a small amount of eggs. I don't use as many eggs as it, you know, the instructions on the box say, because for me it's just too much. All of this is gonna go to waste as it is, because I only feed them when I have the brine shrimp ready. I only feed them for 2 days. 2 meals a day, one first thing in the morning, one last thing at night, because brine shrimp can actually be bad for your fry. If you overfeed, it'll put pressure on the swim bladders, and therefore, we actually have on live stream, we have courting going on. This is pretty amazing right now. So Wilbur and Beatrix have apparently decided that this is the time to shine with me trying to film a video. And there is the dance, and he has her turned over. I don't see any eggs yet. And that apparently worked better for him than it did for her, because he is in a paralyzed state and actually very, very amazed right now. I'm very happy. So I guess this went from a fish room tour to me showing you guys the mating ritual of the betta fish. I kind of hope that my camera picks them up a little bit better, because I don't want to disturb them. I don't want to disturb them too much, but apparently now is the time that they decided to spawn with me down here talking about the fish room. So as you can see, Wilbur is doing a little jig, and he'll bring her over and he'll try to flip her up onto her back. And this is a perfect example. He's trying very hard. She hasn't spawned before, he has. But this will be her first spawning. So, you know, it's a little bit awkward for her, and a little bit awkward for him too, because she doesn't know what she's doing. But they're trying. He might get a little bit impatient with her, and he might try and there you go, he nipped at her. But that is the courting dance. So I'm pretty happy with that. I cannot believe that that just happened whilst I was down here trying to film my fish room tour. So I will come back to them when she comes back over to the nest, and they try again, hopefully. But he gets a little impatient and he bites at her. She swims away, and then she'll come back. So now I'm gonna go over to, you guys that follow me on the Amino have an absolute love obsession with my chunky little lady Coraline. She is just an amazing little fish. She is so personable. I love her. This light, unfortunately, this is, okay, so I don't know if you can really see, but it really is DIY, very DIY. This is actually a hood that was designed for this tank down here, which again, I built myself, which is, this is my seed. This is where all my seeds are right now. There is, these seeds down here are Marimo moss ball seeds. I've never tried to germinate seeds before, but I'm very hopeful that these will eventually grow. And then my little experiment of land moss. And yes, I'm talking like moss that you find, you know, stuck to stones and rocks and in your backyard, in your grass. There's actually two different kinds of moss, land moss in here. The green stuff here is doing a lot better than this, which this was more of a, I wonder if it would do the same thing. I have seen that the greener moss out of the two, I have seen that that one does very well in fish tanks. Not too sure why, but apparently it does. And this one seems to be doing fairly good, which is great because it, you know, it's a different kind of leaf. And I'm very hopeful that it will create, you know, kind of a uniqueness to some of my tanks, depending on, you know, how much I can find of it. And you can see there's like very little hairs, like almost like hairs coming upwards, if the camera will actually focus on it. Let me see. I don't know if it's gonna actually focus again, but a second ago it was showing me. But yeah, so anyway, I like the variants. I like to try things that are not necessarily the standard things in tanks. There is a lot of dirt in there from the moss, which is why there are no fish in this tank. And I actually have I don't have the filter running right now, which is, again, this filter is not really to filter the water, more to create a current because of the way that the Marimo grows. But obviously with the filter running, you can't really see the seeds when the filter's going. This is to help prevent too many of the seeds being sucked up, although it did not work very well. As you can see, there are seeds in there. But that tank is also heated. And it's about probably around about a 4 or 4.5 gallon tank. And made by me. And here's the light. It has actually light fixing inside there with the light bulb going, and right now I have it suspended above both of the tanks just because a lot of my tanks are they've been given to me by people that just don't want them, and I'll take them off of, you know, whoever's hands, because I can always use more tanks. I never have enough tanks. But there's the lovely Coraline again. Yes, she is chunky and she likes to eat. And in fact, all she wants to do is eat. And she's still looking for food, even though she's already been fed today. But yeah, she's like my little star. Everybody loves her. She is a very, very strikingly beautiful fish. Unfortunately, again, that was Wilbur's doing. That's the reason her fins are in such horrible condition right now. She was originally with Wilbur for, you know, a repeat breeding because their first spawn was so fantastic. I wanted to try again with them because I only had the 15 left due to I think there was a couple of different factors that played in. I had a heater malfunction, and I believe, if I remember correctly, the fry tank, which was just a 10 gallon, this is just a 5 gallon tank. But my 10 gallons over here, one of them, the one that Wilbur is in right now, the middle tank, he the heater malfunctioned, and when I looked at the tank, the thermometer was reading 96 degrees, and at which point I was just devastated because there was about 60 or 70 plus fry in there. And I honestly thought I was going to lose everyone, including Wilbur. Thankfully, I must have caught it really, really fast because, needless to say, I have babies still. Wilbur was with them for probably about a month. I had him with the fry for a month, which for me was a fantastic experience, and I will talk more about that at a later date. But for now, I'm going to leave it there. Excuse me, I'm sorry. But thank you for, for watching my video. And if you want to follow me or speak to me on the Amino, I'm on Better Spawns and the Better Spawns Amino. Fantastic app. Really, really nice people. Fantastic place to be connected. And just a wealth of knowledge, specifically for beta, mostly. A lot of us do have other fish. I personally have some goldfish, some fancies. I've got a couple of pearl scales and a red cap. And I have a lot of other projects that I want to, take on, such as finishing the rest of my basement and fitting. I have a lot of room down here that I can do a lot of different things with, but it's just time and organization and, getting it done. But for now, I am going to leave it there. And thank you for joining me. Subscribe to my channel, please. And I'll have an update for you very, very soon. And as soon as I can actually figure out how to go live, I'll go live and we'll do a questions and answers. And thank you so much. Bye.